Hello, and thank you for joining us and getting to know WorkplaceNL. Unless you have experienced a work-related injury or participated in our free health and safety learning series, most people know very little about WorkplaceNL. Today's presentation will provide a general overview of the workers' compensation system, the organization's history, and the services and benefits provided to employers and injured workers. WorkplaceNL, formerly known as the WHSCC, administers the Workplace Health, Safety, and Compensation Act and regulations, and serves approximately 215,000 workers and 18,000 employers in the province. WorkplaceNL supports workers in their medical recovery and return to work. It also promotes occupational health and safety in order to prevent and reduce workplace injuries and occupational disease. The primary clients of WorkplaceNL include workers, injured workers, employers, pensioners, and surviving spouses and dependents. I won't bore you with a detailed history, but I'll give you a brief overview of the beginning of the workers' compensation system here in the province. Up until the early 20th century, employers were not responsible for workers' compensation or care, and the worker assumed all risks associated with the job. In 1913, a royal commission was started to study workers' compensation in Canada. Sir William Meredith tabled a report in the Ontario legislature establishing what will become known as the Meredith Principles. The Meredith Principles are an historic compromise in which employers fund the compensation system and share the liability for injured workers. In return, injured workers receive benefits while they recover and cannot sue their employers. Like all workers' compensation systems in Canada, the Meredith Principles are the foundation of WorkplaceNL. The Meredith Principles are based on no-fault compensation. Workers are paid benefits regardless of how the injury occurred. The worker and employer waive the right to sue, so there is no argument over responsibility or liability for an injury. Security of benefits. A fund is established to guarantee funds exist to pay benefits to injured workers. Collective liability. All employers share liability for workplace injury insurance. The total cost of the compensation system is shared by all employers. All employers contribute to a common fund. Financial liability becomes their collective responsibility. Independent administration. The organizations who administer workers' compensation insurance are separate from government. An exclusive jurisdiction. Only workers' compensation organizations can provide workers' compensation insurance. All compensation claims are made directly to the Compensation Board. The board is the decision maker and final authority for all claims. So as I mentioned, the workers' compensation system here in Newfoundland and Labrador is based on these principles. In 1919, the Association of Workers' Compensation Boards of Canada, or the AWCBC, was founded as a nonprofit organization to facilitate the exchange of information between workers' compensation boards and commissions. And in 1951, the Workmen's Compensation Board of Newfoundland was established. There has been a few name changes in the past 70 years, but the mission remains unchanged: promoting safe workplaces and early and safe return to work programs for injured workers. WorkplaceNL is governed by a board of directors that reports to the provincial government through the minister responsible for WorkplaceNL. The appointment of the board of directors is recommended through the merit-based process of the Independent Appointment Commission. The chief executive officer is responsible for the day-to-day operations of WorkplaceNL. The mandate of WorkplaceNL is to administer the Workplace Health, Safety, and Compensation Act, and to promote workplace health and safety in order to prevent and reduce workplace injury and illness, strive to ensure injured workers receive the best care possible and the benefits to which they are entitled, facilitate injured workers' recovery and early and safe return to work, administer an employer classification and assessment system, and ensure adequate funding for services through sound financial management. The vision of WorkplaceNL is of safe and healthy workplaces within a viable and sustainable system which reduces the impact of workplace injuries by providing the highest level of service to workers and employers. WorkplaceNL also has documented values, meaning the core ethics or principles that the organization will abide by. Those values include client service. Each individual, meaning each employee, will provide accessible and timely service in the delivery of WorkplaceNL's programs to our clients. Compassion. Each individual will treat each other and those they serve truthfully, fairly, and with care, empathy, and respect. Leadership. Each individual will perform their roles and responsibilities with integrity and will work towards being a recognized leader in their position. And each individual will initiate and promote improvements in how they serve others and work together. Teamwork. Each individual will support each other and work collaboratively to ensure WorkplaceNL fulfills its mandate. Accountability. Each individual will be responsible for their actions and performance to help WorkplaceNL achieve its mandate. And finally, safety. Each individual will take responsibility for their own health and safety and the health and safety of coworkers and others in the workplace. WorkplaceNL is organized along 4 functional areas. Worker Services focuses on the delivery of services to injured workers, including compensation and healthcare services. Employer Services focuses on the direction and management of injury prevention and revenue generation mandates. Corporate Services focuses on establishing and maintaining an integrated organization-wide approach to corporate and client service delivery. And Financial Services, which focuses on planning, organizing, directing, and controlling the delivery of financial services throughout WorkplaceNL. As you can see, there are many different facets of the organization. There are certainly many moving pieces that all work together to fulfill the mandate and vision of WorkplaceNL. These functional areas support 3 lines of business: education on the prevention of workplace injury, illness, and occupational disease, claims management for injured workers, and employer assessments. I'll talk about these in a little more detail in the next couple of slides. The first line of business that I'll talk about is education on the prevention of workplace injury, illness, and occupational disease. To be honest, a lot of people are not aware of this important line of business. Most people simply think of injured workers and compensation when they think of WorkplaceNL. WorkplaceNL designs, develops, delivers, coordinates, monitors, and evaluates workplace health and safety education, as well as injury, illness, and occupational disease prevention initiatives. Specifically, WorkplaceNL promotes public awareness of and fosters commitment to workplace health and safety, educates and provides advice to employers, workers, and others about workplace health and safety, promotes and funds workplace health and safety research, develops training standards for certification under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, certifies people who meet these standards, and approves training programs for certification, promotes the importance of health and safety education and training, and develops strategic partnerships as appropriate in its delivery, collaborates with and makes recommendations respecting workplace health and safety to the Occupational Health and Safety Division of Digital Government and ServiceNL. WorkplaceNL achieves these initiatives through the activities of the Prevention Services Department. The Prevention Services Department, which is made up of a group of health and safety professionals, focuses on promoting occupational health and safety education and awareness with employers and employees in our province. The prevention of injuries in the workplace is a primary focus of WorkplaceNL. Achieving safe and healthy workplaces requires the cooperation of stakeholder groups. WorkplaceNL fosters a collaborative approach to lead to healthier and safer workplaces, help injured workers achieve an early and safe return to work, reduce the impact of workplace injuries, and lower claims costs. The Prevention Services Department is made up of 4 units: advisory services, analytical services, certification training, and education services. Each group has an important role in promoting public awareness and educating employers and employees. The Advisory Services Unit is made up of health and safety professionals who are available to provide advisory and consultative services to employers in all facets of occupational health and safety programs and policies, including industrial hygiene and musculoskeletal injury prevention. They provide resources such as fact sheets and safety shares. They are available to coordinate and conduct prime audits to ensure compliance with WorkplaceNL's prime program, and are available to conduct occupational health and safety audits and evaluate health and safety programs and make recommendations for improvement to employer programs. Employers can call upon the knowledge of the health and safety advisors with questions about education initiatives within their workplace. The Analytical Services Unit identifies, researches, analyzes, evaluates, and provides advice on existing and emerging occupational health and safety issues and injury trends impacting programs and services of the Prevention Services Department. This unit utilizes the accident reporting system to conduct trend analysis. Workers are often interested in the occupational health and safety statistics within their workplace. This unit can provide employers with injury trend statistics for their workplace and their industry. 3-year injury reports, 5-year injury reports, and so on. Employers can relay these statistics directly to their employees, or the results of the statistics can be used to tailor education and training initiatives. Unlike the others, the Certification Training Unit focuses on the development and administration of training standards. WorkplaceNL has a legislative responsibility to develop training standards and programs for various topics as outlined in the Newfoundland and Labrador Occupational Health and Safety Act and the Newfoundland and Labrador Occupational Health and Safety Regulations. We presently control 8 mandatory training standards, those being committee, representative, or designate training, power line hazards, traffic control person level 1, fall protection, confined space injury, surface attendant diving, mine rescue, and first aid. Supervisor health and safety, musculoskeletal injury prevention, and traffic control person level 2 are voluntary standards developed and administered by WorkplaceNL. The Certification Training Unit approves training providers and trainers, evaluates curriculum and trainers, and monitors the Certification Training Registry. And last, we have the Education Services Unit. The Education Services Unit develops and delivers workshops, webinars, podcasts, and structured learning outcomes in occupational health and safety. We develop and deliver presentations for employers, workers, occupational health and safety committees or worker health and safety representatives and designates, including sessions that are targeted or requested by specific workplaces on specific topics. And we deliver safety education programs that are directed toward identified needs and meet the needs of stakeholders, including youth. If there's a topic an employer or organization would like us to present on, they can reach out to us and we will work with them to tailor a presentation to suit their needs. Claims management for injured workers is another line of business. WorkplaceNL proactively manages all aspects of an injured worker's claim relating to workplace injury, illness, or occupational disease. Specifically, WorkplaceNL registers injured workers' claims and determines their entitlement to benefits, provides active case management and healthcare planning, and helps ensure injured workers access to appropriate programs such as wage loss benefits, early and safe return to work plans, labor market reentry, and retirement benefits. The goal of claims management is to assist in injured workers' recovery and minimize their loss of income through appropriate healthcare intervention and proactive implementation of early and safe return to work. This is accomplished by working in partnership with injured workers, employers, and healthcare providers. In the case of a fatality due to a workplace incident or an occupational disease, WorkplaceNL provides programs and services to dependents of the deceased worker. A primary component of claims management is planning, as well as coordinating health support and advisory services from healthcare professionals within WorkplaceNL. This ensures that injured workers receive optimal, cost-effective healthcare. In addition, WorkplaceNL continuously establishes and maintains partnerships with external healthcare providers. Entitlement to compensation is based on two fundamental statutory requirements. One, the worker meets the definition of worker under subsection 2Z of the Act. And two, the injury as defined under subsection 2O is one arising out of and in the course of employment. A worker is a person who has entered into or works under a contract of service or apprenticeship, written or oral, express or implied, whether by way of manual labor or otherwise. The term arising out of and in the course of employment means the injury is caused by some hazard which results from the nature, conditions, or obligations of the employment, and the injury happens at a time and place and in circumstances consistent with and reasonably essential to the employment. Arising out of refers to what caused the injury, and in the course of refers to the time. All claims requiring formal medical attention and/or lost time must be filed with WorkplaceNL, including report-only claims, healthcare claims, and lost time claims. The Form 6 or Workers' Report of Injury must be filed as soon as possible following the injury. This form authorizes WorkplaceNL to collect information and pay benefits. The Form 7 or Employer's Report of Injury must be filed within 3 days following receipt of the Physician's Report or MD, and there are penalties for late reporting. The form must include wage information. And last, the Physician's Report or MD is the form that is completed by the healthcare provider when a worker seeks medical attention from a work-related injury. This form provides objective medical findings and functional abilities information that is used for return to work planning. It is important that information on this form remains confidential. Benefits available to an injured worker include: WorkplaceNL may pay temporary wage loss benefits if a worker is off work for a work-related injury and receiving medical treatment, participating in an early and safe return to work program, or participating in a labor market reentry program. Following maximum medical recovery from a work injury, if a worker is unable to earn as much as they earned before the injury, they may be entitled to extended earnings loss benefits. Unlike temporary earnings loss, this is for long-term disability payable to age 65. Healthcare required for treatment of the injury and recovery, including doctor's visits, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, chiropractic treatments, medical supplies or prosthetics, prescription drugs, travel, and accommodation. If an injury causes a permanent loss of bodily function, a worker may qualify for a lump sum benefit in addition to wage loss benefits and healthcare benefits. Different parts of the body are of more functional importance than others, and the permanent functional impairment reflects that. There is no separate payment for pain and suffering. If early and safe return to work activities do not result in work that is suitable, available, and restores the worker's pre-injury earnings, WorkplaceNL will provide an injured worker with a labor market reentry assessment and, if necessary, a labor market reentry plan. That could be retraining or it could be a self-employment option. Labor market reentry services ensures workers have the skills, knowledge, and abilities to re-enter the labor market and reduce or eliminate their loss of earnings resulting from the work injury. There are also pension replacement benefits and fatality and dependent benefits, which may include burial expenses, lump sum payments, and benefits to the dependents. Regardless of the number of employees, all workplace parties under Section 89 of the WHSC Act are required to participate in early and safe return to work. The early and safe return to work process helps workers continue working after an injury or to return to work in a safe and timely manner after taking time off. During this time, every effort should be made to help them recover at work while undergoing medical treatments for their work-related injury. Both the employer and worker have a responsibility to facilitate early and safe return to suitable and available employment. Going back to work after an injury sometimes involves making changes to duties or hours of work. The worker may also need equipment or devices to help them with their return to work. If employers and workers need help during this process, they can contact the WorkplaceNL case manager. WorkplaceNL also has early and safe return to work facilitators available to assist with developing and maintaining a successful early and safe return to work program. They can also help educate workplace parties on return to work and provide guidance to employers and workers that are experiencing difficulty in setting up an early and safe return to work plan. The role of the injured worker in the early and safe return to work process is to contact the injury employer as soon as possible after the injury occurs and maintain communication throughout the recovery process and return to work process. Assist the employer to identify suitable and available employment within their functional abilities, accept suitable employment when it has been identified, and give WorkplaceNL any information requested concerning the return to work. The role of the employer in the early and safe return to work process is to contact the worker as soon as possible after the injury occurs and maintain communication throughout the recovery process and return to work process, provide suitable and available employment in accordance with the worker's functional abilities, and give WorkplaceNL any information requested concerning the worker's return to work. The role of the healthcare provider in the early and safe return to work process is to provide the worker, employer, and WorkplaceNL with functional abilities information, provide the worker and WorkplaceNL with medical information, to identify appropriate method of treatment for the injury, and to ensure the worker receives timely treatment and that return to work is discussed. And the role of WorkplaceNL in the early and safe return to work process is to communicate to the worker and the employer what their legal obligations are, to monitor activities, progress, and cooperation of the workplace parties in the return to work process, to manage the medical rehabilitation of the worker, to determine compliance of both the employer and the worker with the return to work process and legislation, and to offer dispute resolution. And the last line of business is employer assessments. The amount an employer pays WorkplaceNL each year is called an assessment. The WHSC Act requires employers performing work in the province to register with WorkplaceNL and pay assessments for workplace injury coverage for their workers. The assessment revenue collected from employers is used to pay the cost of injured workers' claims and associated costs to administer the workers' compensation system. Mandatory registration and insurance coverage applies to two groups of employers, assessment-based employers and self-insured employers. Assessment-based employers are insured through collective liability and contribute to WorkplaceNL's injury fund through assessment premiums based on their annual payrolls. The injury fund is comprised of the funds collected based on experience-based assessment rates for employers. Self-insured employers, such as the provincial and federal governments, are individually liable. In this circumstance, WorkplaceNL pays the actual cost of claims and then invoices that amount to the employer with the applicable administration fee. Under this line of business, WorkplaceNL registers employers, administers and monitors employers' payroll reporting, sets assessment rates, and collects and audits payroll. So who must register with WorkplaceNL? All incorporated or limited liability firms must register. Individuals working in a fish processing plant or sawmill are reported on a payroll basis. Harvesters are covered based on the volume of wood harvested and the dollar value of the fish harvested. Whether they are incorporated or non-incorporated, have or do not have workers, if work is being subcontracted, registration is required to report subcontractors to WorkplaceNL, even if the principal has no Newfoundland and Labrador workers. And non-incorporated companies are required to register with WorkplaceNL if there is one or more workers. There is no automatic coverage for the proprietor or partner. However, they can purchase coverage. Optional personal coverage can also be purchased by independent operators who are defined as being neither a worker or an employer. There is student coverage, so students that employers pay directly are considered workers and are covered. Students under qualifying programs are covered and employers may be able to claim a deduction. These, as an example, could be job creation partnerships, employment assistance services, etc. Unpaid work terms from Memorial University and the College of the North Atlantic and a few others are covered. Unpaid work terms from private colleges are not covered. And the WHSC Act provides for compensation to workers of Newfoundland and Labrador employers who are injured outside the province in the course of their employment if certain requirements are met. So how is it determined how much assessments an employer has to pay to WorkplaceNL? Whenever an employer registers with WorkplaceNL, they are asked to specify which industry they are operating in. WorkplaceNL then assigns them a Newfoundland Industry Classification Code, or NIC code, which has a monetary rate attached to it. This rate is used in conjunction with an employer's gross payroll to determine how much they pay to WorkplaceNL in the form of an assessment premium. Employers pay assessments on the earnings of their workers, full-time, part-time, casual, or even directors of unincorporated companies. Assessable earnings are replaced by alternate units of measurement for employers involved in wood harvesting and fish buying. There are annual reporting requirements for employers. An employer payroll statement is where the employer reconciles their previous year's estimate to their actual payroll and provides an estimate for the upcoming year. WorkplaceNL ensures payroll to a maximum amount each year, known as the maximum accessible earnings. If employers do not report, WorkplaceNL will apply an estimate of earnings to their account. There is also a contractor statement that is used to report information about any contractors employers used in the prior year. There's also an occupational health and safety statement, which is used to report occupational health and safety information about each of the company's work sites. These statements must be completed by February 28th of each calendar year, or the employer can face penalties. Employers can also face a penalty if they underestimate their earnings more than 25%. Employers and workers can appeal any written decision made by WorkplaceNL. To do this, a written request stating the reasons for dissatisfaction must be sent within 30 days of receiving the decision. After completing the internal review, WorkplaceNL will send a final written decision. If employers or workers still disagree, they have 30 days from the date of the decision to request an external review from the Workplace Health, Safety, and Compensation Review Division, or WCIRD. For workers and employers who plan to have representation during the WCIRD process, an authorized representative consent form must be completed giving approval for the representative to act on their behalf. WCIRD hearings are very informal and usually last between 1 to 3 hours, depending on the complexity of the issue. Attending the review hearing will be a review commissioner from the WCIRD, the worker and/or their representative, and the employer and/or their representative, if they choose to attend. A representative from WorkplaceNL may appear also if they believe it is necessary. If a decision is in favor of the employer or worker, they must contact WorkplaceNL for action on that decision. If the review is denied, the only other recourse is an originating application to the Supreme Court of Newfoundland and Labrador. It is through the lines of business we just discussed, as well as the commitment from all employers, that WorkplaceNL will continue to promote workplace health and safety in order to prevent and reduce workplace injury and illness, strive to ensure injured workers receive the best care possible and the benefits to which they are entitled, facilitate injured workers' recovery and early and safe return to work, administer an employer classification and assessment system, and ensure adequate funding for services through sound financial management. To receive updated information on prevention services, free workshops, and webinar offerings, scroll to the bottom of our website, www.workplacenl.ca, and click View All Events. From there, you can subscribe to receive emails with upcoming events. Don't miss out, subscribe today. Thank you for taking the time to get to know WorkplaceNL. If you have any questions or concerns, or to receive more information, please contact a WorkplaceNL office nearest you.